Welcome to Pluripod. This is a podcast all about the Apple TV show Pluribus from Vince Gilligan, and we're super excited to share the show with you. I'm joined by my co-host Victoria Givlin. I'm Matt Waterworth. We talk about every episode of the show this season, and we're super excited to share those conversations with you. Just a heads up, we get right into spoilers. There's not really any break or warning beforehand, so this is it. Make sure you're watching the episodes of the show before you're tuning into episodes of our show. And if you have any questions about our show or looking for a link of any kind, it's all going to be on pluripod.com. So thankful you join us. Let's jump right into it. It's episode 3 of Pluripod. I'm super excited. Yes. I am not in the same city as you today, so we are recording virtually. But it's been cool to get our episodes of this show out. And man, lots is happening because I don't know if you know this, but the official podcast, the one that Vince is on and is hosted by one of the editors of the show, they released 3 episodes last night, 2 bonus episodes and an episode covering the episode we're going to be covering. I have not had a chance to dig into those episodes yet because we're trying to catch up and get our episodes out a little faster here. But it's good to see you again, and you have taken, as usual, some amazing notes. So why don't you guide us through? And again, maybe we start with like overall thoughts on the entire episode first. I'd love to hear what you thought, just generally.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I am grateful to be here again, and the remote viewing, it's fun. We're adaptable, so that's awesome. And yeah, this episode, it's called Grenade, and you're like, maybe that's Carol, and in a way, yeah, but what happens is pretty insane. Like, she calls for a grenade, and then she gets a grenade, and she presumes, of course, that it couldn't possibly be real, and yet it is. And then I think, the giant straight to the ending about asking for an atom bomb, and, right, her asking them, if I asked for one, would you give me one? And she said, well, he said, the DHL gentleman was like, well, I would seriously consider telling you why this might not be a good idea, but ultimately, yes, I would give you an atom bomb.
This is a huge, realization for me. Like it seems pretty clear that they, them, the others have to give Carol whatever she asks for.
Yeah. Anything, right? We cannot make you unhappy. You have to make the decision. When Zosha said that earlier, you have to decide if I go or not. You have to decide if I stay. I can't make you unhappy. Like, whenever they do make her unhappy, they literally die. A bunch of them start seizing and they start dying.
Yeah.
So
really fascinating. And again, it speaks to this idea of is this force good or evil, right? Or maybe I'm too obsessed with that. Maybe it's more of you're talking about chaotic neutral, right? Maybe it's just a neutral being that doesn't interact. You also last episode you were talking about how Zosha was saying we can't protect you from each other. So they're like Sweden. They're gonna they're not going to be involved in when they say that Carol's life is her own 100%. I'm starting to believe that even more so, even to the degree of we're not going to, if you want a grenade, you want a grenade. We're not going to treat you like a child. We have these capabilities and we will obey. That's the thing. It's they obey Carol. It's not it's a very cool way. And I'm a little frustrated because it's great writing. I should be frustrated because they're dripping pieces of information as we go, which keeps me hooked. Of course, Vince knows what he's doing. So why don't we go with the first episode of the Ice Hotel? And I don't know about you, but the first scene of the episode, I saw the countdown on the screen, and it was 2,000 and some days, and I was like, whoa, did we just jump forward 7 years? But it's counting down. So this is 7 years prior. I had a moment where I was like, you can't skip 7 years right now. What did you think of this Ice Hotel?
We're learning more again about Helen and Carol's relationship and how, Carol could find the misery in everything. Like she kept bringing up about sleeping on the ice bed and how unhappy she was. And Helen was like, in awe of everything, just super happy. And she was saying how it was, like her screensaver seeing the the aurora borealis or going up across the night
Yeah.
sky. And I thought it was funny too, Carol's comment, like, well, I could have saved $100,000 and put my eggs on ice here. Like I didn't have to. Thought it was just funny. And it showed later on how, even though she's complaining, how they said that it really was, heaven on earth. It was one of the best moments that she's had in her life. So that was romantic and cute. And then jumping to the next scene where she's on the plane again, and this time, like,
Yeah.
they're supporting her, and they've removed the TGI Fridays pilot, and they have two pilots that are working together, and they're telling her how many thousands of hours they have between the two of them so that she could be more at peace of mind. And they're just sitting there waiting for her, right? Because she wants to give that gentleman a call that doesn't speak English, but also that doesn't talk to them, because she's trying to learn a little bit more about, if this guy doesn't want to talk to them, then finally I found someone that's on the same wavelength as me.
Right. Yeah. This guy where is he? I remember Zosha saying he works in a storage unit, but I forget what country. But he's a Spanish speaker, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Carol is like, oh, interesting. Someone who's also not talking to the others. I think she's like, oh, maybe I'm going to connect with this person. Maybe this is someone finally who understands that this isn't normal or fun or cool. And she's let down by his response, which I don't speak Spanish, and the subtitles were not changed to English in this case. So obviously he was not pleased to hear from Carol, and she had to fire back. This is the fun thing about Carol, is she's quite flawed, right? Like she can't take that without calling back and saying something back and then hanging up on him. And I love how Zosha was like, we don't think it was personal. It's like, of course it wasn't personal. They don't know each other at all. But Zosha wants Carol to feel good. Happiness.
Yep. It was super. And the fact that she tried like 4 times because she couldn't drop
it. Of course, yeah. Totally. But yeah, you're right about the pilots. The pilots are interesting because it, like, again, it speaks to this like naive nature of the others, where the pilots are like, we have so many hours of flight time and we're in our uniforms, and it's like, oh, okay, we heard Carol say she's uncomfortable by that. Now we're going to overcorrect and make her feel so comfortable about it. I don't.
And she actually reverted back and said the TGI Fridays lady was less uncomfortable than the pilots.
Yeah.
Now
That's right. Yeah, it's which I agree with her for, it's, again, like, I don't know what to make of this. I feel like there's got to be something else going on. Like, we're going to learn something new about the others that sort of explains this childlike nature. Because, like, let's say we took the entirety of human consciousness and put it all into one person, which is supposed to be what Zosha is, right? There'd be a lot of, like, terrible stuff in there, right? There's lots of bad humans in the world. Maybe what Vince is saying is the good outweighs the bad, though, right? There's going to be a lot more childlike whimsy in the world than evil, horrible people. And so the predominant behavior is this, like, kind, gentle, naive, gonna take you at your word person that Zosha is. I'm so curious to find out more. And something that I really wanted to know, this episode really made me ask myself, like, is there a way to remove someone from, because as we build this relationship between Zosha and Carol, and Kumba really liking Zosha, and, like, can someone be removed from this consciousness? I'm very curious about that. Can we get someone back, right? If Helen were alive but was part of it, could Carol get Helen back as an individual? I don't know. I really want to know. It's weird to not we used to we for a while there we got an entire season of a show all at once, and it doesn't happen as much anymore. But I would have finished this show long ago if they gave us all the episodes.
It's true. Yeah, they want to hang us on suspense for everything that we're doing. And when I was watching this show last night with my boyfriend Marlo, and he was like, "Well, I don't really think," and it was a great perspective. He's like, "I'm not thinking that the view is whether or not the being of them is inherently good or bad." He's like, "My understanding is more so whether or not we feel that as a move that this is ultimately like, is it a net positive or a net negative for humanity?"
Yeah.
Right? Like overall, there's no crime.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
world peace, right? So it's, and that's kind of the axis that a lot of us are spinning
For
on all
sure.
the time is like what
There's so much
um,
efficiency, right? Like we haven't gotten
yeah,
to see it, but like the grocery store being empty, and so
that was my
yeah. So if you're
favorite.
saying, well, it just
Well, can I come back on Friday? A moment,
yeah,
please.
exactly, yeah, yeah. And then the labor force coming in to unload the trucks was such a great shot. Um,
The choreography again of
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
getting
yeah,
all the like choreographing trucks and then every one of these people like it moves sequentially, this one then
yeah,
that one and then this row and that, and all the people
yeah.
like, and nobody's asking for help because they all know where it
And they have to. Can
belongs.
you imagine? You're exactly right. The choreography, and I haven't listened to it yet, but the choreographer on the show is one of the bonus episodes, so I can't wait to listen to that episode and hear more about. Yeah, the way the trucks came in was so well done, and like it was like a dance. Yeah, it was amazing. Um,
And they like didn't leave, like they filled the entire store. Like they didn't leave, like maybe she wants a watermelon. So we'll give her, no,
yeah,
they were like, it needs
yeah,
to look like a full
yeah.
grocery store. And this episode too, we see a lot more about the conservation side of
Mm,
things, right? Because they shut the power down to try to, we didn't mean to scare you again, Carol, right? We only have so much electricity and we're trying to just keep this grid here. And we got that branch settled, but no one. And then they're like, well, do you see in the nighttime or like do you
yeah,
shut down? Like,
yeah.
what are
Are
you
you
doing?
nocturnal? Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, the organization, right? Like there's a part of me that is just like, oh man, if I could have full control of every distribution system and grocery store and like there's so much inefficiency in our society, right? And I think in some ways there has to be, and in other ways there doesn't at all. And waste, right? The amount of waste, like food waste, uh, it's I want to see how like if this were to if this were to be delivered to society perfectly with perfect efficiency, I want to see what that looks like. Um, Although I have to say, like I kind of feel like the energy conservation again, it feels like it seems obvious. Like let's make Carol feel like things are as normal as possible. Let's not shut down all the lights in the city because that's a very scary feeling when you would look out your window and you're used to being able to see the city lit up. That's going to be really jarring and confusing. And it just doesn't seem to understand that, uh, which is a bit silly. We skipped that Carol's on the bestseller list, right? We found that out at the Ice Hotel, which I think is interesting, and the way she warmed up to that information without trying to be too obsessed with it was good. Um,
Yeah. Where am I on the top 20? Am I
yeah,
closer to 11? Am I closer to
yeah,
20? Like where? And her partner's like, you know, but I mean, to be fair, I would want to know as
of
well. Like if
course,
I
yeah.
was
Who
right,
could
like
blame
where
her?
do I not in a I haven't done well enough, but I would be curious to know where I landed for sure.
Absolutely. Um, so we get Carol back to her house, and Zosha has this box. She's gathered up all the mail, and
Gave her the mail and gave her well, she didn't eat that one morning, so they sent her her favorite breakfast from something that she had like 12 years ago or something, and she threw it in the trash. And then we went to the grocery store. And then yeah, so Zosha, when she got back from the grocery store, Zosha gave her a box that Helen had sent her in the mail before about the massage machine to help her relieve
yeah,
some tension.
which is like a heartbreaking thing to receive after your loved one has passed away, right? Like Again, it seems like a naive thing to give to Carol. Um, but there's also some beauty in it as well, right? Like it seems like she's a bit what's the word? Conflicted about receiving it. Uh, so Golden Girls.
That was
Yeah.
funny. Betty White on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, Betty White is telling this story about uh this woman who's always frowning, and then she ends up she ends by saying like, oh well, it takes more muscles to frown than oh, and the story's like she couldn't smile. This It turned out this grumpy woman just couldn't smile. And then so every time she saw her, she would stand on her head so that she could smile by being upside down. I think a very intentional clip from Golden Girls, right? I think very speaks very much to this show. Like, and honestly, again, if I'm the only one, I'll shut up about it, or maybe I won't. But like, is this a good or evil being or neutral now, as we're discussing? That makes me terrified, right? Like that feels like the show telegraphing to us this being is pretending to be happy and kind to Carol and just doesn't want her to cause trouble, perhaps. It's one of many signals, though, that make me very confused about what the others want.
Yeah, that saying about, you keep your friends close and your enemies closer,
Yeah.
right? Like it Carol sees her as an enemy, absolutely, but she can't like we also know now that she really prefers Zosha. Like they did well, so she doesn't want to let her go. Betty White also says in the one clip, um, a story again about how they sacrificed the town's dumbest virgin, and Betty laughed and was like, "I don't know why I put my hand up."
Interesting.
Very
Yeah.
intentional.
Yeah.
Very
But what does
yeah,
it mean? Uh, yeah.
right?
Hmm.
I'm like, are we talking about I mean, I feel like in general the show is talking about sacrifice in quite a lot of things. Like Helen was sacrificed. But I also feel like even anyone who becomes the other is being a sacrifice because you've lost. To them, it's not, but like in a way, I'm sure Zosha is. I'm sure the person that is Zosha never planned on flying over and being this woman's personal assistant. But who
Yeah.
knows?
True
Who knows?
enough.
Or like Carol might like be foreshadowed to be getting set up to be the
Mhm.
sacrifice of some
Oh,
sort.
yeah.
I
Interesting.
don't I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And she like, I don't know why I put my hand up.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah, I think that's actually really valid. I don't know that we have a lot of evidence for it, but I think like it's a really valid idea. Like maybe there are like I don't know. We know this message is from space. And we know that the guys, when they're throwing the ball around, when we're learning about, say that it would have taken an antenna the size of Africa to send a message like this. So that gets me thinking, okay, there's probably other planets that are like this that have been taken over by this virus. And they obviously want other planets to like this is where my mind goes around like, oh, maybe it is an alien invasion. Maybe the Earth is just being prepared for someone or some other race or aliens to come and take over. Um and so maybe there is always like people who are immune in a population to that virus, as we know there often is in our own world. And so maybe these people play a very important role, and they need to be protected for some sort of future moment. Or maybe I'm way overthinking this based on this episode, and because at the end of our last episode we talked about like maybe this show isn't really the sci-fi show that I think it is. Maybe it's just more about relationships and love and who we are as people to each other. Did this episode make you feel any particular direction on any of that?
well, I felt like this one we specifically moved away from any positive interaction between another immune person. And we went back to, I guess, more on like the individual versus the collective again against them. Because even when the power does go out and things like that, like the collective is like, well, we know that you donated to a charity that cares about energy efficiency, Carol. So we knew that
We thought you'd
this
appreciate
might
this.
make
Yeah,
you happy.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, I mean, I don't feel like this episode was more about like interpersonal relationships, more about like the self and perhaps like absolute power, right? Because they're like, if you could have the atom bomb, would you use it? That was really funny. Well, maybe. Could I get you an atom bomb? I'll think about it. Coffee?
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
like it's a regular Tuesday order at Starbucks?
right, right.
Like,
So,
what did you think? Did you think that this one was more about interpersonal relationships or that we're back on the sci-fi train?
there's a great story about the movie American Psycho. When
Great.
there's a great scene where Willem Dafoe plays this detective who is hunting a killer, and we know that Christian Bale's character is this killer he's looking for. Um, and the director sort of famously asked Willem Dafoe to play this scene in three different ways. One, that Willem Dafoe absolutely knew that Christian Bale was the killer and was coming after him. And then one where he was like not sure. And then another take where he was completely convinced Christian Bale's character was innocent. And then they intercut all of those different performances in the same. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you gotta check it out. It's amazing. And it's super confusing as an audience member because he's going from these like really intense detective moments to being like his best friend, like from cut to cut. That's how I feel about this show right now. Is I feel like I'm getting all these different pieces of information, which is excellent. I mean, you never want an audience to be ahead of you. So I definitely don't feel like I know. I just feel more confused in a good way though, like in a way that makes me need to know more, which is great writing, I think. So yeah, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. Um, but getting back to the episode, Carol continues to be very suspicious of the others and gets a delivery of this beautiful dome. There's this great shot of like what is like a fancy food covering dome thing, but the way they shoot, like it feels very Breaking Bad, the way they would do these really macro close-ups on something. That was this like bent sort of image of Carol opening the door, which is a reflection. She throws this food away. She still is not interested in trusting Zosha, even though the food came from someone else. I don't know where Zosha is in this moment.
Yeah, and it's also still like she won't accept their food that they plated to her and gave to her, but also she decides I've had enough and she goes to the grocery store and not a single thing is available. And she has no choice but to accept the food that they bring to her here now. But they also show her like, I mean, it would be hard for anyone to not become unraveled when this is happening because we see her with the Golden Girls. We see her drinking, I think, Jaeger, and she's also got her prescription pills that she's popping at the same time. So
Right.
she's just like trying
I
to
forgot about the pills. Yeah.
disassociate or like, you know, how do you cope with this sort of a
Yeah.
reality? I'm sure you're going to find some sort of advice. And so but I think she's trying to find like some sort of something normal to hold on to, which is why they are like making sure that she has the lights going. And even the fact that, I mean, I guess she's got the TV CDs of Betty White and the Golden Girls, so she can watch that. But
TV CDs, Victoria. It's
DVDs.
dead technology, but yes, I believe it's called DVDs.
Yeah.
TV CDs is great though.
You knew what I was talking about.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We touched on it already, but you're right. She goes to the grocery store, and it is empty, and she immediately makes a phone call. But like that, I think it's funny that she can just pick up any phone and call the others and knows how to reach them. She thinks she's so independent, but she doesn't. She doesn't realize that, like, well, you first thing you did was call for help, and you knew that you could get it. I mean,
She wants to be independent, but yeah, she doesn't. Like, she could have gone outside, I guess, and gone hunting and seen if she could have foraged
yeah,
something. But
that would be
what I mean, I guess that also shows us too, as like a population, like how reliant we are
100%,
on this
100%.
stuff. Because if we didn't have grocery stores and government and medical
And
institutions
truckers and
and we
farmers,
had to handle it
yeah.
ourselves,
like
Yeah.
she says, I fend for myself. No, none of us fend for ourselves. Like maybe 0.01% of the population can do that when you're living out on the land and hunting, like you said. Um, yeah, Carol's. I mean, Carol is all of us in this way. Like we think we're independent when we go to the grocery store, but like no, like there's a massive army of people who make that grocery store work, and we see that army in action when they pull up in these trucks.
I think the show does well with reminding us of that.
Yeah,
Like the higher powers that be are really, you know, just being mindful and grateful of the fact, like, I didn't grow that
mm,
watermelon. I didn't pick it. I didn't wash it and put it in the truck and deliver it
yeah,
here, but we still get to have access to these thousands of food options thanks to all these other people that brought it to us that we'd be stranded without their
for
support.
sure, for sure. Um, what do you think? So whenever I watch a show like this, I pretend I'm the director because I'm that vain and but like when the trucks pull up, I thought it was interesting that there's graffiti on the trucks. Like a part of me was like, well, wouldn't the others have like the most pristine and clean and up to date? Like I imagine the others have like center where like an automotive center where they've got people repairing every vehicle and updating them, and they've got a hospital where they're making sure every individual in the collective is like in top health. And I don't know any of this. I just assume that it's like it's got all these areas and it's working on every piece of improving humanity as a society. um but then I think, well, no, of course not. Like, there's limited resources. There's limited trucks in Albuquerque. Like we saw, like we had to bring Zosha from wherever in the world she was to Albuquerque, and we're going to do that in the most efficient way possible. We when we saw that plane she gets on, it there were two Jeeps that were coming out of the plane, right? That were because it was a cargo plane, and as she's getting on board, right, because the others are working to efficiently clean up all the bodies and do whatever else it's up to. And so it's going to use whatever tools are at its disposal. And it seems to be in a bit of a hurry, right? Like the fact that the grocery store was already empty, we know we're 4 days in, it certainly has the resources to do that. But again, it seems very intentional, right? Like we hear Zosha say, oh, it's just because efficiency, right? And centralizing resources. I don't know. I can't help but think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, I think we kind of saw that with the pilot. Like, I think it really comes to whatever the resource is that's there. And it's more about efficiency and timeliness than it is necessarily about the image, unless the immune person is making it clear that they want the image of that pilot. If she had said, like, I only want to see food delivery trucks, I'm sure they would have done it. But when she said, I want the food, and I'm like, and they know also they're catering to her every need as best they can, and they know that she didn't eat breakfast, and they've already tried to feed her.
Right.
So when she's like, well, I guess I can get food on Friday, they're like, that's not acceptable. It'll be there in a
Right.
moment. So then they all
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of like, and that's probably just the first truck that is my guess that they could have had
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
And like choreographing or doing the directing for all of these people, like some of them had high heels on, some of them were older, some of them were younger, but like moving up these like skids on the pallet trucks and carrying them and like passing them to everyone, like it literally it reminded me of like the Grinch, like how they coordinated their passing of
Yeah.
their meal at a
Yeah.
long table that
For
just goes
sure.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
forever, right? Everybody's moving in a perfect synchronicity. And the fact that they're all sort of performing like robots, but it's actually humans. Like, I wonder how many takes that
Yeah.
took. I wonder how much time that took. It would just be. And when you were telling me too that this budget allowed them to like create this neighborhood and create these buildings, I'm like, did they make a
Yeah.
superstore? Like, did they create a superstore for
Yeah.
the show? And showing the funds again, like, how much time would it take the set deck team or the crew of that spot, like, did they just build a grocery store and then left it empty for that scene and then filled it? Or did they find a grocery store and then completely
Yeah,
empty
good
it?
question.
And how much time that
For
would
sure. I
take?
would be very curious about that as well. I wonder if they
Mhm.
talk about that in the official episode. But um I'm really curious about your perspective on like being cast as one of the others. Like if it were me, I'd be like, "Oh, we're all the same." That would be my first assumption, right? Like we all have to act similarly because we're all part of the same consciousness. But that's not how the show chooses to do this. How would you approach it if you were cast as one of the others?
That's a great question. Thank you. I mean, yeah, there would definitely be some research and divulging into like uniformity and like because it almost seems like especially in that scene they're not in the army but they all moved,
Yes. Like
right?
they are on
Like
a
in the
team, yeah.
timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the cadence and the beat and the unity of the army. So I mean it would be very much asking like what is it that you're looking for me to do? Like even when they were in the airport with the family and they all addressed everyone at the same time when Carol arrived, like it would be a challenge, and I was laughing really hard at the pilots, like, when they had the fancy pilots just standing there, like, just waiting, like, and, like, they were, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
NPCs, like, it's it would be a fun character, I think, to do because you essentially are trying your best to not be a character, like, you're trying to be an NPC of a sort, which I mean, I've done some motion capture for video games and you got to start somewhere. Just like I started in background acting. And when we were doing the motion capture, like I was doing stuff that an NPC would be doing. Like I wasn't one of the lead characters. You would like come up and talk to me or you would ask me to do something, but I don't even really respond, at least when I was doing the filming. So that was it was mostly just about movement and timing of things that was most important and how you used your body language to demonstrate that. But yeah, it would be a challenge. You'd have to have the seriousness of any acting profession, right? Of like if you were filming that and you weren't trained, like, that would be pretty funny. It would be hard not to break out in
For sure,
laugh,
yeah.
right? But, yeah, being, like, completely serious on it and, I mean, I think I would try immediately if I knew I always try to, like, socialize a little bit, but if we're gonna be a group and we need to be a team, then I'd immediately before we start recording be like, "Hey, like let me get to know you, let me chat with you, let's see how we can form a strong unit together." So there's more cohesiveness and unity between
Right,
the
right.
group.
Hmm. Uh
What about you? Do you act or perform on that side? Have you
no,
done
not
that
really,
before?
no. But I do I have to think this would be kind of fun, right? Like especially the three people who as they're leaving the grocery store are talking to Carol in
One
different
sentence
chunks.
half.
Like
Yeah.
that must have taken some practice to get the timing right and like interesting to choose like the first time Carol really interacts with the others at the hospital when there's like the power line is flickering and um there's this group voice that says something like hello Carol and like having all of them speak together at the same time, terrifying, kind of a terrifying thing. And maybe that's the others understanding, okay, she doesn't like that. Let's try to talk to her one at a time, but let's keep it efficient because I've got to walk these people out. So I'm going to have chunks of this conversation as we're walking out. It must have been fun as a performer to be a part of that, I would think.
I thought too as well in terms of like these others that have been inhabited, like do they carry the same needs as a human needs? Do they need to sleep 7 hours? Do they need to eat 3
Hmm.
meals a day? Do they need
Yeah,
like what is it they're caring
totally.
about their any energy conservation, but what for? Like these people don't have jobs anymore other than the other, like they don't manual labor you don't see as a thing or not, but I mean you'd also think that some of them are farming and making more food because they are like you don't see the meat, but she says they're
Yeah,
vegetarian,
yeah.
so it's like do they
Okay.
gather around and talk to each other? Like, or do they not because they already know
Yeah,
what
I
they're
don't
all
think they
saying?
do. I think they do have jobs. Like if the grocery store is empty, you got to think every grocery store in the world is probably empty, and the food has been moved to centralized locations to make it more efficient to feed the individuals in the collective. So there's probably a massive amount of work happening, and it's day 4.5. So there's probably still tons I would think that they're up to. And I want a video game of some kind where I can like just control the the world's population, because the amount of maintenance required that the human race requires, if it suddenly is taken away from me as an individual and given to a force to manage on a global scale. I mean, imagine how much time and energy and resources you spend just to maintain everyone everyone being alive and healthy. Like that's a massive, massive endeavor, and it's something we all take on individually. Unless you're a caregiver, you might do that for someone else as well. But for the most part, we're all sort of individually responsible for that. Well, now it's the other's job, and that's a huge job, I think, to just manage on a global scale. So I think, yeah, I think they do have a lot of jobs. But it's interesting that you caught that that Zosha says we don't work at night. Um, and I think it speaks to the idea that like the collective understands that human beings need rest, and so the individuals must rest, and they probably rest in the homes that they lived in before, right? Why that would sort of make sense, unless I'm sure not entirely, but um, so at night, human beings are resting. The human beings, as part of the collective, are probably resting, and it made me feel good that like it's like if there is a consciousness that understands, efficiency, and I guess that's an assumption I'm making, but I think I have decent
Yes.
references for it. Um, then we know that it's inefficient to overwork a population. And it made me feel like, oh, we got to rest. Like rest is important, right? Well, some people are like workaholics and don't take breaks, and then they burn out. I think the others know we can't let that happen. If we want peak performance, we actually have to give human beings rest, which I thought was good. Good thing to say.
That's interesting too. So, like, if they're not working and they're not resting, like, are they now already eating organic and like going
Maybe
to
they
the
are.
gym?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are they all trying to be the most successful and healthy and
Yeah.
strong beings that they can to carry the
I think
other? Like,
absolutely. I think
that's it,
absolutely.
right?
If the others have, oh, this group of people, I just don't have a job for them right now. Probably yes, sending to the gym, probably keeping them healthy, keeping them exercised. Right. It's interesting. And actually, I as you were speaking, I was kind of thinking about the perspective we're given as an audience. And we don't get to see all of this stuff. We really are only from Carol's perspective. We only get to see what Carol sees. So when she bumps into a grocery store that doesn't have any food in it, well, that's a shocking thing. But like I said, probably that's every grocery store in the world for the most part, right? Unless it's an efficient location. Uh, and and I'm a little bit annoyed by that in a slight way, just because I felt like the very first few minutes of this show in the pilot, we got to see the science side of it. We got to see sort of the wider scope. We got to meet characters that we may not meet again because they were involved in how this all went down. And that wasn't Carol's perspective. But once the countdown clock hit zero, we were kind of only and we're locked into Carol's perspective. But I have to check myself as well, because just because we saw the human perspective, we didn't necessarily see the other's perspective, and we did a little bit when when they're doing the swabs of their mouths, and but very little. Um, like Zosha talks about how like we were doing this for months or a month before the military caught on, and we had to speed things up. So there's all sorts of stuff going on that we didn't get to see, that I desperately want to see. I wonder if we'll get to see that perspective at any point.
It's true. And when, like, you learn a little bit this episode, because when she gives her the hand grenade, she's like, it's not real, right? And she pulls the
Yeah,
pin, and then they look at each other, and Zosha's like, no. And she grabs it and she hucks it, and then it blows up. But Zosha does get shrapnel on her,
this is
right? Like, she
also
gets it in her,
very interesting. Yes,
right?
that the others sort of
Yeah.
sacrifice themselves for Carol, to protect Carol. Um,
And then Carol turned around and they said, like, your quick thinking saved the
Right.
day. You saved
Right.
Zosha. And they wanted to know, of course, the first thing that they do is let Carol know how Zosha is doing. I don't know if you noticed this. Again, there's so many things that are going on. I don't know if it means anything or not, but this, when the DHL gentleman was telling her that Zosha was okay and that she could see her soon, there was this person like walking by that seemed to be going by themselves that had like a bunch of water bottles or something that they were just pushing. And because all this is happening, it's the same thing as the guy with the leg. Like, I'm like, is this a
Right.
person?
Right.
Like, what happened to, but
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that Carol did immediately like go to help Zosha instead of just be like, oh, she's dead now.
Yeah.
Like,
For
that
sure. Yeah.
was
I mean, and I think they've kind of had those moments like where Carol drops her mask of like, I don't need anyone else and I'm not going to help anyone else kind of, a few times. Right. And it's where these heightened emotions happen that cause, the others to freeze as well. But yeah, I think it's a really important thing to think about how, how, to what degree would they allow Carol to, like, is that how much they like if Carol was really took an atom bomb and was like, I'm gonna nuke all of Europe right now, um would they allow her to do that? Like, at some point, do they have to stop her? Would they at any point say like, all right, I guess we're gonna tell you all the risks and we're gonna ask you not to do it, but if you got to do it, you got to do it. I don't like. I wonder again. It speaks to that idea that you were bringing up about how, like, is there something special about these 11 or 12 people, 13, I guess, and are do they are do they need to be available for something that's going to happen in the future? Is that
well,
Do they have to be safe for that?
I don't know. And she says, although she does say like we can't protect you from one another. So
Mm.
if she does decide to go find any of them, like if she goes after the woman with the 9-year-old child, if she wanted to atom bomb that location, like would they say
Right.
no? Or would, because ultimately they're just trying, like they did bring up, she asks Carol asks Zosha, how long until I join you? And that's interesting because she said it could be a few weeks, it could be a few months. And she said, well, every science mind on the whole planet, like, isn't that kind of weird? And she just, basically accepts that they don't have the answers right away, but you will be joining us. We will be fixing you. And this was interesting too, because she mentioned, she's like, well, why? And she's like, well, if you walked, I thought this was fascinating, that if you walked past someone who was drowning, you wouldn't consider asking if they want help. You would just throw them a life
Yes.
raft. You wouldn't even bother to question. You just
That was a
would. And
compelling
then,
argument, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then she says, so I'm drowning. And she's like, yeah, you just don't know
Right.
it.
Yeah.
What is she drown? Like, she's,
Right.
is that happiness?
Yeah.
She's drowning in misery. I'm just trying to help
Yeah.
you, sort of
It's a
thing.
super compelling argument, but it's also the kind of argument a cult makes, right? When it's like, you are in pain and trouble and we are going to save you from it. Uh and who knows, maybe that's true, right? Like it's yeah, it's some good writing. I also love that line where they're talking about the distillery, and Carol's like, and you know that because you stole his brain. and so it's just like, all right, you just killed the mood. Um yeah.
Yeah, she seemed bummed out when she said that. She's like she doesn't seem to enjoy. That's an interesting take too. Like when she mentions that, she doesn't seem to have happiness or joy or pleasure in the fact that she did that. But she is like she's not overly upset, but she's also like, ah man, you caught me again. Like it's just don't call me out on that. We don't like talking about that. So, like when you're in a relationship or when you hear about things with a narcissist, right? They're like, like,
Yeah,
but we're innocent and we're so
for sure.
kind
For
and we're
sure.
so we care about you,
That's a
Carol.
that's a good
That's
comparison too. Like, are the other like is the others a narcissist in some way? Because there's so many.
have to go their
Right?
way.
Yeah.
You have to do their thing, and they're gonna make you feel like that is the best solution that you need to do, and you have to join us. You have to
Yeah.
serve
For
us,
sure. For
right?
sure.
Like I'm like, there is definitely some like psychological entrapment going
Yeah.
on
Oh,
here
yeah.
for
I mean,
sure.
or not. Like that's what I'm struggling with. Like, is that what's happening, or is this a genuine being that is just so innocent and naive? I, yeah. I still don't know. One criticism as we get to the end of the episode here, and she's got the grenade, and she's like, "There's you would never give me a real grenade." I don't know if I bought that. But I don't know if I bought that Carol wouldn't believe they would give her a real grenade. But maybe she would, because she so believes that they're evil and that she's a prisoner and that she is trapped in this world now. They would never empower her with a weapon like this. Is her thought process. But for me, I'm like, what? Like, why would it not be a real grenade? Like, Kumba got Air Force One. You got an excavator in a second. Like, anything you seem to want, they are gonna provide. So I was a little confused by Carol thinking like, there's no way this is real. But maybe she's so suspicious, and I guess she should be, that sure, maybe they'll give us Air Force One, maybe they'll give us things we like, but they're not going to give us tools to fight back against this.
Well, I think there's two things. Part of it as well is she's on pharmaceuticals and
So
alcohol. So
so
she
much.
could just
Like, I
mean,
forgot how much.
yeah, she could just mean in general, like this isn't
Right.
real.
Yeah.
Like, nah. But the other thing that actually just came to mind that I think is a literal like bomb is like in the second episode, they said that they were vegetarian because they could not handle harming another being. And now you're going to give her an atom bomb?
Yeah. Like, obviously the
That would murder
right.
millions.
But
Like,
obviously it's almost like it's an AI, right? It's like, okay, whatever you want, you're in charge. We're gonna do whatever you want, but we're gonna warn you about it, and we have our own opinions and things, but you are the boss. Is it really like that? Like, I don't think Carol can imagine that that's true, but apparently it is. It's and this is what makes this show so good and different, right? Like, I think I was talking in one of our last episodes about how this isn't a new idea, right? We've seen this concept in a few different ways, and the big difference is they've got a budget. They've got a budget like we've never seen before. They've got Apple money. I googled it. I don't know if this is true. Apple's a $4 trillion valued company now, apparently. I, I, it's, it's crazy to me. But anyway, they have money. They if you want to spend some money, I'm sure they have a budget. And the other interesting thing is that we're in the streaming wars, right? So we've got Stranger Things at $24 million an episode. We've got these big budget shows because they're all trying to outdo each other. So Apple loves this, I think, because it's like, oh, great, we can make this a big centerpiece show and spend some money and do some really crazy things. The other thing, though, about this show that is different, in my opinion, is if this force is good, if it's kind, if it's a benevolent entity, then we haven't really seen that before. I mean, you could argue that the Rick and Morty episodes with Unity, there's like a romantic. I mean, I think that's an interesting take on the idea, but I think we're all assuming, like Carol, that this is an evil alien takeover, and what if it's not? I think Vince is sitting there going like, what if it's not evil? Like, what if they were good? What if they were genuinely good? And that is a unique take on this idea. I think it's and yet we don't know for sure. I'm obsessed. I'm obviously obsessed with with finding out which way it is, and maybe that's the whole game. Is like, it's not about that, Matt. We'll find out.
I agree with you. Constantly being like, well, that seems pretty nice, but that's pretty weird. But what does it mean? And so I'm trying to find meaning in everything. And it's kind of like an escape room or a puzzle game. Like, you're like, that could mean something that helps me understand, or it could just be me spinning my tires, not going anywhere. Like, I have no idea. And like you said, the writing is good in that it's just getting like dripped. So we're not quite we're not ahead of the
Yeah.
writer, of the
Yeah.
director. We're not. They're doing very well there. And you're right in that when we've seen movies and TV shows like Walking Dead or World War Z or anything like that, like there's a thing that's taking over and it is evil, and we are actively trying to not join them. We are actively like, no, we need to kill them. We need to exterminate it. These humans are no longer savable anymore. They're done. Except for that one zombie romance movie that I actually thought was pretty cute.
Yeah, with
Where like love brought him
yes, yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
and
Yeah.
he
That was
made.
a good movie.
I was like, that's
Yeah. Yeah,
cool, right? That's
for sure.
cute. Um, I guess like one of the thoughts that I had here, and this is open interpretation because I feel like it's something that we're just inquiring about as a viewer in general, is like, Matt, do you think that like if you had the capacity to turn a switch on and have the hive mind and understand everybody's thoughts, do you think like that would be a good thing? Or do you think it's better to not?
It's a great question, and I think what what you're asking under that question is humanity good or evil, right? Like if we were to
Yeah.
distill all of humanity, are we like over 50% evil or over 50% good? And I have a strong belief that humans are actually good. We hear about all the bad stuff, but I like to remember that, for every bad thing, there's hopefully 50, 100 good things that just don't make the news, right? And so we have to be careful about the way we perceive that. What do you think?
I am much of the mind that way too, in that there was a, why am I not remembering it? In high school, we read a book and it was about it. I feel like a lot of us had to read the book, but it was about a plane that crashed with a bunch of
Oh,
boys and um
how am I forgetting what this is called?
you know
I
what I
do,
mean?
yeah,
Like there's the pig head on a
yes,
stick, and that's like the plane.
I can't
And so
believe I'm
it goes
forgetting.
into this idea, and we had to write an essay about whether or not we inherently thought that when left to their own devices, if humans are ultimately good or evil. And you're right, with like my criminology undergraduate and stuff, and like the media in general, the news trying to make us afraid, trying to divide us, trying to control us. They're showing us that humans are bad, and they're also setting up circumstances in that, like, you know, the economic circumstances are difficult. Things are more
Yeah,
expensive, like things like this. But as much as they try to divide us, like all the hero movies are always like it's darkest before the dawn.
yeah,
And at
yeah.
the end of the day, like we are a species that thrives on
Mm.
community. And I think we are overall good people. And I think for the most part, like in terms of statistics, like the majority of the population is good. If they are acting bad, most of the time it's because the circumstances that they've been given, the cards that they've got in their life hasn't been good. They don't have the
For sure.
money. They have to feed a child, these
Absolutely.
things,
Desperation, right? When you put someone in a desperate position, that's when they start to behave badly.
but only like 1 to 2% of the population are genuine
Right,
psychopaths.
right. Good point. Yeah. Is that true? Is that the
So
stat?
if like, right, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very low.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
very, very low. So it's like, well, you could have some more mild things about like narcissism or narcissistic traits or whatever. But if we had this hive mind collective, also just like looking at how different societies run governments and things, like the Native Americans, when someone commits a wrong, they don't say that that person is wrong and they are evil. They say society failed them.
Yeah, that's true.
What what do we need to do as a group? This individual needs to accept accountability for what they've done. But as a group, we need to say, like, we failed them. We didn't give them what they needed to succeed. And how can we do that? So,
Interesting.
yeah,
It's a great
I
point.
think humans are ultimate.
And when
Yeah.
you put it in pluribus terms, like, okay, what if society is just one being? what if society is now one person making those decisions or one entity? And yeah, there are parts of it that I like, oh man, the power we would have for good, like the good that could be done in that way. But it's only at the cost of all of our individuality. So I don't know.
So
Would you do it though? Would you
that's
join?
what I join. I mean, I feel like there if I could be so bold as to ask for terms, right? Like if I could turn it on and be like,
Yes.
if you don't have to wait in the medical room for 6 hours for a stressed doctor to tell me what's wrong, if I could just go
Yep.
through a doctor's brain and say, oh, you probably have
Yep.
this, right?
There's no
Um,
waiting for doctors
but
anymore.
then I would
Every
want to
individual
turn
is
it
a
off,
doctor. Yeah.
right? Yeah, but then it's also like I would still. Well, here's the thing though, is it's both a pro and con. Like you wouldn't have to spend the time learning anything anymore. You would just have
Yeah.
it. So nobody would be an extremely good
Yeah.
pilot or a great doctor, or a great musician. So
And is there any individuality in the collective? Like, is Zosha an individual in the collective? Like, like when Kumbe is attracted to Zosha, I felt bad. Like I was like, oh, he's attracted to her, but she's not anyone. She's not a person. She's part of a larger thing. And I was like, oh, he can't tell that, and that's kind of sad. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is individuality within the collective. I really wish Carol would sit down and ask these kinds of questions. And we did have a bit of a Q&A session, but I mean, we can't know everything, but a part of me is just like, why isn't Carol asking so many more questions? And I guess we'll get those answers in future episodes. I
yeah,
hope.
and I brought this up with you earlier a little bit about like how like as a spiritual person, this is interesting because it's like the idea that we're all individually unique expressions of one
Yeah.
being,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, this is, but how like to be enlightened, which seems to be what they're kind of reaching for, like acceptance is key
Mm-hmm.
of all different parts of these. Like you learn in spirituality and stuff about, or like psychology about your shadow
Yes.
self, which are the darker traits of yourself that you don't show to the public as much, but they're just as
Mm-hmm. Of
important and they're just as valid. And getting
course. Part of who
angry
we are.
at yourself for having these things doesn't solve the
Yeah.
problem. Loving them
So
fixes
true.
it.
Yeah.
But this show is like, but how do you?
So interesting. And now you've got me thinking, like, what's the mental health of the collective like? Like, maybe it's great. Maybe it's awesome. It seems very calm. It can't handle a lot of emotion, but I don't know if that's related to its mental health. But it's a very interesting thought.
And how calm can you be if you have to be shot like 600 light years away from your home planet to take over someone else's? Like, do they meditate? Do they all sit around on the
Maybe they
one
do.
and meditate for like an
Yeah,
hour a day?
maybe. Hmm. Yeah, with the exception of like, it, I think I feel like the others would give Carol a straight answer about anything she asked. Basically, that seems to be the rule. And when she asked like, how many people did I kill, Zosha doesn't answer. Carol has to say like dozens. No answer. Kind of a shrug. And then she's like hundreds. And kind of a shrug. And then she vomits, and we learn later that it was millions. Um, I think like that's the downside is when you have two characters, one who has all the information and one who needs the information, and you don't have them have that conversation. Uh, it frustrates me because that's of course what I would do. But it doesn't make for as good a TV show, I guess, if you just drop all that information. Um,
The suspense is kind of
yeah,
gone.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we're getting closer. We definitely had a one-on-one conversation between Zosha and Carol in a way that we haven't really before, especially since it ended with a grenade going off.
So how do you feel the next episode is going to go then when Zosha gets to talk to
Yeah,
Carol
I
again?
mean, as we go on, I'm gonna get more frustrated that Carol, like, because Carol certainly realizes now that it's going to give me an atom bomb. That's insane. And this is not the relationship I thought it was. I'm not necessarily the oppressed person I thought I was in this situation. I may be, but not the way I thought I was. It's going to give me power if I want it. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, an atom bomb is not all that dangerous to the whatever alien race is like building an Africa-sized antenna or whatever it is. So maybe it's not that big a deal, but it definitely feels like there's more to learn about the rules and the way that the others operate.
Question too is like, so when they get like, in terms of like them, is there a help, like if you're playing a video game and you're going to attack it like a final boss, like Carol killing 11 million of them in her thing, like does that, it makes them upset and it kills a bunch of them, but does it actually hurt them as a being?
No,
you know what I mean?
You're right.
Like,
it's a great question.
Is it losing a limb and like that hurts, or is it just like like we'll make more? It doesn't matter. And that's the thing too. Like, are babies being born?
Oh, whoa! I didn't even think of that.
Like, do pregnant women?
That's a
like,
new one.
Have babies?
Good question. Well, yeah. I mean, they must be letting the babies be born if they're already pregnant. But are they? That's kind of terrifying. Are they?
Are they continuing
procreating?
the human race this
That's
way?
interesting,
right?
But the what did you say before? That was a really good point. Oh yeah, I think losing 11 million people might be a good thing for the others, purely from like now we don't have to care for, manage, like feed all of those
less resources.
Yeah. So because it's got to be a massive part of its time, but what is it doing? We don't know what is it doing like otherwise. If it's not maintaining the human race, what are the other? Well, it is, but in addition to that, what is it? What are its goals? What is it actually up to? I don't know. We'll find out.
Is there like a maximum number of, so when it like took over at the very beginning, it murdered like 800 million people. Did it, like Helen, in retrospect, woman in her 40s, seemed perfectly healthy, like no, like didn't seem to have any clear signs of comorbidity, but died, right? So it's like, well, clearly there are immune people, and then there are people that are more susceptible to this harming the human vessel.
And a lot of people,
like,
it seems like.
A lot of them. So it's like, well, is this, can them in general, like, is there a maximum number of people that they can inhabit? And if so, like, will it start like breaking or splintering if there's too many people?
Right. Good question.
Or not enough people.
Yeah.
Like, does it need to have 100 million? I have no idea. But
we gotta wrap it up, but I think we will find out. I think we will find these things out, and it's cool to learn. Thank you for chatting with me about the show. Excited to do it. Excited to see the episodes going out there, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for those that have tuned in. Please leave your comments underneath and let us know too what you think about all these ideas. Would you like a hive mind? Do you think it would be beneficial?
Yeah.
Do you think this being is inherently good, bad, or like chaotic neutral, or just trying to save itself? Like, are you team Carol or team them? Like, where would you go?
You're a traitor to the human race if you're team them.
Or are you team immunity that's just accepted that the world is coming to an end, the other immunity people, and they're just living out their life, living their best life until it's the end? Like,
good question.
Like, it's like, if you could, your whole life, like, you can now stop and all these people are basically your slaves until you're gonna go. Like, would you just be like, okay, like vacation time until the end? Like, what would you do? So, but thank you for your time, and thank you for the great questions, Matt. It's always a blast.
See you next time.